Russia?
What?
Where are you in Russia?
Moscow.
Okay, you're in Moscow. Okay,
You've been to Moscow for 7 times, as I remember.
something like that. Yeah, it's been a lot of times.
For some reason, you like it.
Yeah, well, Russia's been great. I've always done a few little clinic runs out there, and then we went out there a few years ago to Russia, and we did like 5.5 weeks of touring in Russia. We were on the trains and stuff in Siberia, and uh, that felt like an eternity being out there. It was a long time, but it was really cool.
But you've been the last time with your clinic, yeah?
I think the last time I was actually in Russia was it was either for a clinic or it was a Steve I performance.
Okay. Well,
Like,
my first question is tell some words about how to cope with genius like Steve Vai. I know that genius people are very strange and they're very hard to work with, but what about Steve? It's not a question about you, but about your
yeah, no,
partner.
of course, working with them. I've always kind of had the kind of mentality with working with him is that first of all, he's the band leader, so he kind of calls the shots with everything, and that's part of learning to be like a team player. Um, I think for me, it's never been so much about wanting to play my parts as much as it is whatever parts he hears and wants for his music, being able to kind of pull them off and play them. And when you have someone like him who kind of has those genius like qualities as far as like composing music and understanding the big picture and these making this kinds of sounds that he makes and the kinds of things that he wants to hear, you have to learn to try to be able to accompany exactly what he wants, because
How do you
people like
understand what he wants? How does he explain his thoughts to you? And
he does it in different ways. I mean, he'll verbally say stuff, rhythms like the last album, The Story of Life, the way he sent me some of the drum tracks is that he would have the music on it with a metronome in the background, and he verbally uh, would say the drum parts, like he would go. So that's one way, and then other ways I had some things were written out. Some of that stuff is really challenging. You kind of have to have it written out so you can see. That's one of the benefits of kind of being able to look at something. I'm not a great reader, but like being able to see things and because with his music you can't just kind of play over it. You have to follow uh, exactly what he's doing. And sometimes that can be really difficult and challenging, but that's the part of a lot of times most drummers, it's like, okay, we'll play a drum fill here, and they'll just play a drum fill, and it's any drum fill.
hmm
Goodbye. You have to accentuate all the little intricacies and all the things that he's doing. So it has to accent his guitar playing, and I think that's one of the things that's harder for some drummers is that you have to do that. And then just musically, he's got this big vision of composing and how he wants the band to sound and the parts and understanding dynamics, which I think a lot of, especially a lot of guitar, like solo guitar players, they're great. They can shred and everything, but they have no clue about like understanding what dynamics are. And that's uh, why Steve stands out and why his playing is, why he's one of the handful of guys who pretty much ever lived in the rock in the electric guitar world who kind of made a statement and who sound unique because he understands dynamics. It's not just plugging in and just playing all these notes. So,
what is the cat behind you? What is his
oh,
name?
this is our cat named Margot Rubio.
Uh huh.
So there's some politician dude named Marco Rubio,
Very
and
beautiful one.
and uh, my daughter calls him Margot Rubio. Her Margot Rubio. She's crazy. So we just let her run around.
So let's go back to our topic.
Yeah.
How do you think why Steve has chosen exactly you? There are a lot of different drummers all over the world and astonishing ones and great ones. Why has he chosen exactly you? Of course, I have to ask him, but what's your opinion?
Oh, you know, first and foremost, I mean, I've known him for what, like 16 years now, maybe more.
For a long
Um,
time.
a long time, and I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I mean, one, when I came in and I auditioned, I had been playing in a punk rock band, and my playing style was just, it was more about like hitting hard, and I
Yeah,
think a
it's
lot of
very
that,
interesting thing that, as I think the drummers of this style are more into progressive music, and
yeah,
like Virgil Donati and the guys like him. Yeah, but
yeah,
you are very into metal, and it's very
yeah,
interesting that you've combined metal and progressive music together with Steve.
yeah. Well, I think that I think a lot of the times the misconception with Steve's music is that, and I think some of the drummers that he has had are amazing technical players, um, but you know, when you take all that away, Steve really likes something to like groove and have a pulse to it, and to be able to kind of move your head. I mean,
He's
and
into
I think,
metal as well,
well, not necessarily metal, but just anything that grooves.
rock,
It's,
rock.
yeah, and I think that um, you already have like when I joined the band, uh, it was myself and Billy Sheehan was in the band, and Tony McAlpine was in the band, and Steve was in the band, and you had all these dudes on stage playing
This,
like 30-second notes, and they were playing really, really fast and crazy and everything like that. And so if the drummer's doing that too, it's just going to sound like, you know, um, just a blur of notes everywhere. So I think that what Steve was looking for when he was looking for a drummer was somebody that could just uh, kind of be really, really solid. And I think that's kind of what my mentality was. I really like guys like Tommy Lee, and drummers that hit really hard and visually just are movement. And to me, when I watch a drummer that is playing a simple beat, but just really um, playing it really loud and just really solid, to me that does a lot more for me than watching a guy who's maybe playing quieter, but he's doing all of these crazy kind of fusiony things. I think at the end of the day, Steve wanted a rock drummer, and that's was more my thing than a fusion kind of thing.
do you have any other styles in your playing? What do you like except
Um,
metal and rock beat and maybe
well, I
fusion,
like,
maybe
you know,
jazz? What is it?
I'm, I'm not really into jazz. I mean, I can listen to different things and appreciate it. But I just like anything that kind of grooves, that you kind of just, because a lot of the metal, especially these days, it's real intricate with the double kicks, and everything sounds sampled, and it sounds so constructed, like in parts, and it doesn't flow. That's why I always use the example of Rage Against the Machine being one of my favorite bands, because I think if you listen to that, that's a good example of something being really heavy, but there's no double kick drums in it, and the guy's playing on really small drum set, but uh, there's he has a groove that is heavier than any metal drummer I've ever heard, and to me that's the kind of music I like to, as far as playing wise, where it's energetic and it's powerful, and for me, I like to just be able to play in a situation where I can hit really hard, because that's the type of playing that I enjoy, is the physical part of drumming. some people are more into the other parts, but I really like the physical part.
You know, we've done the last episode with Eloy Casagrande, and
Yeah,
he said about his drumming that it's a cardio. He used drumming as a cardio training. And what
yeah,
about you?
yeah. I mean
Is
that's
it
exactly.
is that a toil, a hard working, or is it a passion that, or maybe it's a cardio like Eloy thinks?
I think it's both. I mean, I think that of course it's cardio, but at the same time there's also a, there is an art form to it and a passion. You know, it's like it's hard to get really passionate if you're running on a treadmill. So I think there is a cardio aspect and then there's a passion aspect. And Eloy, I've said this a bunch of times, is like there's no metal drummer out there that's better than that guy right now. And again,
He's a
it's not a
beast.
competition,
Yeah, he's a
but
beast.
it's just and I know the guys, the Sepultura guys, and uh, I'm just like I almost had to stop watching his videos because it's just so amazing, like how much energy he has and how proficient he is. He is the MVP of metal drumming. I don't think there's anybody out there that can compete with what he's bringing to the table at his age. He's like 26 years old, and he's a really sweet
Yeah,
guy
yeah.
too. He's a nice guy, but he's just he's I haven't seen anybody
Machine.
come. No way.
But at the same time, he doesn't play like a machine. He is.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah.
saying. It's not just like he can play like a machine, but he's also passionate about playing. And I think that's another. I think that's part of his, being from Brazil, the South Americans. I mean, the rhythm and drumming down there
Their own
it's
culture.
it's a cultural thing. There's a tribal feeling to it, just like it is in Africa. I mean, there's a body movement
And what
that's
about you?
yeah.
How do you think the accuracy of drumming and the groove, how to combine these two concepts, the accuracy like a machine
Yeah,
and grooving like a human being,
yeah. Well,
how to combine it?
I think it's going to come out with anybody. I mean, it all depends on people's personality, because everybody, no matter who you are, everybody has a different heartbeat, and everybody is different. So each person is going to play the same beat. It's going to sound different. And I think a goal for, at least for me, is to kind of try to sound maybe a little bit unique in some way. Maybe not with the types of drums I'm playing, but just the actual how my groove is. You know, some people kind of play behind or ahead. Some people have certain kinds of characteristics, and I think what's more important than the technique part is the personality part. And I always say that I always give the example of Morgan Rose from Seven Dust, who is one of my favorite drummers, probably my favorite drummer. And he doesn't. It's not like he has the best technique, but he's more passionate playing drums, and has more of a personality playing drums, and bringing what's inside outside more than anybody that I can think of. And I think that's a good example of what I like to see in a drummer. Because there's a lot of drummers you can watch on YouTube that they have flawless technique and they're playing all these things right and it's mind blowing, but they don't have that thing that like makes them stand out. And I think that's gotten lost anyway today because I think everybody is just watching somebody else on a computer screen and then learning it and copying it, and nobody tries to get away from all of that and develop their own kind of thing because everybody is just learning stuff from watching people on a computer.
Jeremy, how do you think how to do new things in 21st century? As they say that all music is developed already and it's very difficult to do something new. How do you do something new?
I don't know. I mean,
How
I
do you
think
come up with new feels, new grooves?
I don't know. For me, I'm not trying to. I mean, drumming is it's one thing that I do, but it's a small thing in comparison to what the big picture of my life. You know, I have a wife and I have we have a daughter, and I teach at the School of Rock, which is a music program, and I love kind of like helping kids and seeing younger kids get into music. Um,
That's
and
great.
those things are way more important than my own goals of trying to move forward in my instrument. And I do a lot of other things, like I mountain bike and I do yoga, and I try to get away from getting in trying going into a practice room and just playing and trying to develop something new. Um, at at my age, at 41, it's hard to have the motivation, especially when I see there's so much content now. There's so many people doing
A lot
so
of.
many things. It's like, I mean, I don't have the ambition to try to create something new. What I do like the idea of doing is I met a guy from from Ghana, from West Africa, and I really want to kind of get into. He's gonna explain some of the West African drumming to me, and I want to learn how to incorporate that because I like a lot of tribal kind of some of those tribal rhythms. And I picked up that instrument, the didgeridoo, a couple years ago, um, which is really a kind of a percussive instrument, even though you blow into it and it makes this. It's an Australian.
I have seen this video. It sounds some kind of a pipe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I mean, to me, I like kind of doing creative stuff like that I can do on my own. I don't have to find like band members. I can just uh, explore things like that, and I have this thing. I'm starting this thing called Colson Drum Lab, which is it's kind of like a YouTube channel, and I just think I can make videos and any ideas that I have, or connecting with other drummers and talking about drums. It's something that I can do.
It's
I think
your
that's
it's your own project. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's how I kind of want to move forward, and I'm fortunate to where I can do all these things that I was just talking about, and live a pretty productive life. And I go we just did a gig in Brazil a couple weeks ago, with Vi, and we had a couple of days off, and I got to explore parts of Brazil that I never got to, Rio de Janeiro, and that's a treat to be able to kind of go do that, and then have this full life at home, and I'm really fortunate.
I can see right the lighting poster behind you. What can you
Well,
say?
my wife loved, we both love it, but my wife is a big Metallica fan.
And what
So
about you? What
I love Metallica too, man.
what can you say about Lars?
You know what, man? I think that every time people always say, what do you think about Lars? And I think that
By the way,
I
we'll
think,
have him in July
oh, that's
at our
great.
channel. Yeah.
I think you wouldn't have Metallica if you didn't have Lars. And I think that if any player in that band was any different, it wouldn't be Metallica. And I think that, again, he's a great example of it's not about the technique part as much as it is about the kind of, there's like a punk rock mentality of those guys getting together, and nothing has to be perfect, but there's nobody tighter than that band, and they still slay. I mean, they're untouchable.
Yeah,
And they can do
he's a
whatever they
great
want.
guy, actually. Well, I remember when you came to Moscow once with your clinic.
Yeah,
Maybe you remember this round hall with a
yeah,
stage in the center. And I've been
yeah.
there, and actually I asked you, how fast can you play double bass?
Oh, yeah,
Maybe you remember it. And you tried to play double bass as fast as you could,
yeah.
and it was very funny for all the audience. That's this guy uh, who all the time he asks the same question.
Yeah.
Every drummer, how fast can you play double bass? What is your opinion about double bass drumming? As metal drummers think about double bass as something separate from other drumming. It's
Well, I
something
think that,
saint for them, yeah.
well,
Double
I think,
bass.
yeah, I think that that metal drumming, because there's a lot of, I mean, I love metal, and I love a lot of that heavy stuff, and I think that double bass drumming, there's parts of it have been taken the human limit of how fast. I mean, there's guys out there like George, the Callias, or
Callias,
something.
yeah.
I mean, there's guys that are playing faster than anybody has ever played.
Derek Roddy,
Derek Roddy, yeah.
yeah.
There's guys that are doing it fast, and I think that a lot of the metal music now, double bass,
Eloy Casagrande.
yeah, it's a big requirement uh, in in the music, but I also think that it's overused, and if there's too much double bass in something, then I lose interest. The only bands that I can think of that I really enjoy the double, like Meshuggah is still probably my favorite metal band. They always will be, just because
Do you play Bleed?
I can play Bleed. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
that's
play Bleed.
great.
Yeah, I think every drummer can. It's tough though, but I think that the way he uses it is tasteful, and I think that's a band that's been ripped off a million times. I mean, they only one band can play that style like that. And I
Yeah.
think Gojira is another example of great double bass. But the thing about those guys, if you take the double bass away, they still know how to have dynamics and they still know how to groove. And a lot of double bass guys, the younger guys, they just immediately come up. The first thing they do is they get a double pedal or they get two bass drums. And they have no understanding of using a hi-hat and no understanding of how to. They think that every time they hear a rhythm on a guitar that goes dun 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 dun, that the kick drums have to follow it, and they don't realize that you can have ghost notes, and you can have you don't always have to fill every accent of a distorted guitar with a kick drum, because it just starts to sound monotonous. And I don't, it's just I have no interest in that. Again, Rage Against the Machine is a perfect example. You can put space in between chunky riffs like that and have ghost notes and things, and it grooves more. It breathes more. It's not just this one dynamic level of just dun 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 dun. That's there's tons of bands that do that, and it's like, okay,
So silent gaps are more important, yeah,
big time, big time.
than the beats.
Yeah, I think sometimes I think they need to be, if they're not in there, then there's no peaks and valleys in the music.
So, what do you drink? If it's not a secret, coffee?
Yeah, right now I'm having my coffee. My coffee's a big thing in the morning.
Do you drink
But
it every morning?
Yeah, yeah. I have my coffee because that gets me going. I have to go, and today I have I'm working with a bunch of kids at the music school that I teach at, and it's a performance day, so they're going to be playing some AC/DC songs and a Ramones song, and we have all these kids, and we're doing a concert for the parents, and
Wow, that's great.
it's really cool, man.
Please tell some words about your schedule. You woke up, and you play drums, you play drums, you play drums, and then you go to sleep, or what is it?
I don't do that at all.
You don't play drums at all?
I do play drums, but I like to do it for if I have to work on something, or if I have time to, because like I said, my life is pretty full. It all depends on what my day looks like. A big part of what I do is just being a stay-at-home dad for my daughter, because my daughter goes to preschool, like 2 to 3 days a week, and then I'm teaching, but then I'm also taking care of her, taking care of my house, running errands. I like to try to, I'm really into my Bikram yoga, and I'm really into mountain biking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that those two things are kind of, I look at them the same way I do as like practicing drums when I was younger. I think they're really important for for the mind,
Mm-hmm.
because the cardio exercise really kind of calms me, and the yoga calms me, and my body is from all the years of hitting hard and walking around airports carrying bags and all that stuff. I've had some issues and stuff, so learning to like stretch, um, learning the right stretches has definitely helped, especially as I've gotten older.
Know
So
that they say that the drummer or any musician should be relaxed while playing, yeah? but not everyone understands this concept that you have to be relaxed to play faster. Yeah, and
Yeah.
what period of time have passed when you understood that you have to be relaxed since
Well,
your start?
here's the thing I think about the relaxed thing, because I think that it can be misunderstood. I think that yes, you do have to be relaxed, but uh, sometimes if people think that they have to be relaxed all the time, that means they don't push themselves. And I think if you want to play hard, if you want to be like a heavy hitting rock drummer, you got to be relaxed, but at the same time, you also have to get into some uncomfortable zones of feeling tensed up and feeling like you're treading water and you can't go on any longer, because the only way you're going to build muscle is by doing that. If you see guys that go to the gym and they're lifting really heavy weights, it's not like that they're this mentality of like, oh, I'm super relaxed and loose right now. You have to put muscle into it. And in order to get to that point of pushing yourself physically, you have to, you also have to be, I don't want to say be tense, but you have to,
Concentrated.
you have to drive yourself and get out of the uncomfortable and always just think, well, if I'm not relaxed, then I'm not playing right. No, you gotta push yourself, because if you want to get to the next level physically, you have to push yourself and you have to.
But did you have any issues with your muscles? Did you fatigue your muscles? Maybe some issues,
Sure, yeah. I mean, that's
injuries.
yeah, that's part of the gig. You know, if you want to be a rock drummer, I think that there's a lot of guys that you can spend a lot of time trying to find ways to avoid getting the injuries, which I think is good. But it's also, you've chosen, if you want to be a rock drummer and play and hit hard, and that's like your mentality. You're taking the risk of that happening. Look at look at a pro football player, a pro basketball player, any of those guys. I mean, you can't say that. I mean, even the best players they're all going to be succumb to some sort of injury at some point. I don't think you can completely avoid it if you want to hit hard. But it's learning how to.
We cannot be compared with Travis Barker, who is injured. A lot of injuries, yeah. And I've seen him episode with Joe Rogan. Have you seen it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of his injuries have come from other things besides drumming.
And what about you? What do you have besides drumming? Maybe you have some injuries not concerning, related to drumming.
Oh, well, I think that they're all related to drumming. I think that a lot of the injuries that I've had, I have an issue with my toe from, when I hit the bass drum, I rest the beater into the head, where some guys let it off, but that's how I do it. And I've developed, it's kind of it's like tendonitis in my toe, so it hurts. So I'll get cortisone shots in my toe to alleviate the pain. I've had some back issues. I've had, neck issues and stuff. But again, and some knee issues. But again, like I said, the doing the yoga is one of the best things that you can do, because people don't realize how important the stretching is.
So you were forced to do this because of these injuries?
Well, as you start to get older and you want to play drums and you want to play hard, it's not as easy. When you're in your 20s and you don't have to stretch, and you can party and you can do whatever you want, and you can get up and your body recovers and you play. But as you get older, you don't have as many get out of jail free cards. It hurts when you wake up and your back hurts and things hurt. And especially playing with Steve, like if you're going to play 2.5 hour sets, it's a long time.
Yeah, very intensively.
Yeah.
All the way.
Totally.
Yeah, great. What can you say about the audiences? They say that people in different parts of the world are different in emotional way. For instance, Brazilian or some Venezuela guys are berserk wild, they're emotional, and in Europe less emotional. What do you think about these differences of people?
I think, yeah, I think there are definitely differences depending on the culture and where in the world it is. I think that people that don't get to see uh, certain music as much, I think in the U.S., especially in L.A., we take it for granted how many amazing bands come through and how much amazing music comes through, and everybody just kind of sees it. Oh, okay, they're here. And there's a lot of jealousy and stuff like that. Whereas in other countries, people are just stoked to go see a band and they're really excited. And I don't, yeah, I think there's a lot of other parts of the world where people seem to be a lot more enthusiastic about stuff. But then again, it's also, you know, if you look at some of the younger bands that are popular, the bands that all the little kids like, most of the places they play in the United States, the fans are totally excited and thrilled to see them. I mean, I think it's just, when people get when when people that have been playing for a while start to get older and their fans start to get older, I think the enthusiasm is just going to be less, and I think that can be hard for artists who've been playing for a while, who maybe at one point had more of an audience that were enthusiastic because they were younger. But you get older and things get different. Sorry, here's my daughter.
Wow.
She's
Hi.
just can you say hi? He lives in Russia. This is my daughter's
She's
dad.
sleeping.
She just woke up.
Just woke up. Hi.
I'm doing an interview about drums, Jeff. Yeah.
She's not in the moods.
So
What would you do if you didn't choose drums, Jeremy? How do you think?
I kind of feel like I don't know. I've discovered how much I love teaching and working with kids. I think that's been a important thing for me because it gets me out of my head. I've been so focused on myself for all my life, and I've kind of been selfish in some ways. And when I think you learn to help other people, I think people that should be doing that sometimes are the ones that need to do it the most, because I've spent a lot of my life thinking that what I do is so important, and music and identifying myself as a artist or musician. And now I just I think if I wasn't playing drums, and there's times that I feel like drumming is such a smaller part of my life now that there's a lot of things I could do and I'd be content. I think that's one of the great things I've discovered as far as like getting older and having a life that's full of different things. I think that's an important thing. I think some people are, when they're younger, that all they do is that one thing. It's like drums, 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 drums. I'm a drummer, drums, drums. And I think it's not always a good thing. I think you need to get away from all of that and go experience life and try different things. Because if you don't, you're not going to evolve as a person and as a human being. And all that other stuff you do is just as much or more important than what you practice, because you can bring all that stuff out when you're playing.
How has your drumming changed through all these years? Has it become better or maybe not better?
Yeah, it's different. I think that of course as you grow older, you have to. I think when I was younger, I felt like I had something to prove in the sense of how hard I was hitting, and I'll always hit hard, but I think there was a pressure when I was younger, especially after joining Steve's band, and you had the Manginis and the Donatis, and you had all those guys, and there was like this thing to prove, where I was trying to kind of prove this, like, well, I'm a punk guy and I'm gonna just hit harder than those guys. I might not be able to play as fast as them, but I'm gonna be like the crazy drummer that hits really hard. And now I'm just like I said, I still hit hard, but I just don't I don't feel that pressure anymore. I just try to just enjoy playing, and not thinking so much about what is someone thinking about what I'm doing. I'm trying to just actually enjoy what I'm playing at, which is a hard thing, because I think we want other people to say, "Oh, I love what you're doing. That's really cool." Anybody says that they don't care what other people think is lying.
Hmm.
I think.
Do you use meditation while you play?
Uh, I try to do like a
In
meditation.
some
I try
kind
to
of different world?
sometimes I try to get in, I guess, a zone. Um, I think it sometimes, I think it depends on style of music, and it depends on how well I how well I know the songs. I think in the beginning, if it's a tour and playing a bunch of new material, sometimes my mind is thinking of, okay, I want to make sure we have these parts right. But I definitely try to get into some kind of space, I guess. But it's the same space that I try to get into when I'm doing yoga or I'm on mountain biking up a hill or flying down a hill. It's like you just try to just, I guess that whole the cliche of the present moment thing, or just
You
talking
just
about
live
just
your life, yeah?
just kind of just enjoying it, not thinking too far ahead.
Okay. Uh, some words about your studio sound and live sound. How do you tune your drums? How do you tune your sounds, your mics? Uh, do you make it yourself or with the help of other people?
I mean, I rely totally on the other people. I don't really know much about that stuff. I mean, I just again, like, I'm one of those guys that uh, I just kind of go and you know I hit the drums, and if it works for them, that's cool. Um, I do have the only thing I like to do is, as far as my sound, is the snare drum I use. I have a bell brass snare. It's a Tama reissue 6.5 bell brass, and it's always been my favorite drum. And it's just really really loud, and it's just a powerful drum. And I try to make that part of my sound every time I play anywhere.
Wow, okay. Uh, and how do you work on your drum parts with Steve and with another projects? Do you come up with your parts yourself, or maybe you get these parts from other people?
It's a combination of both. Steve will have ideas, and then I'll have ideas, and we'll figure it out how it can all work together.
Do you use
It's
it
usually
alone or use it at the rehearsals?
usually at rehearsals we'll come up with parts.
Yeah, and at home, what do you do at home?
As far as coming up with what I'm playing,
Yeah,
I don't know. It depends. Sometimes I'll try to create new things or try to explore. Sometimes I'll just play basic beats or play to music that I like. It all kind of depends.
and what about young musicians? If a young musician wants to be a good drummer, what
Yeah.
advice can you give to him, and why has he choose? Why does he has to have to choose exactly drums and not guitar or maybe something else, computers? Why does he have to choose drums?
Oh, uh, well, I think if that's what they like, if that's what they want to play, then that's then there's some people that it's like that's the instrument that they want to play, and they really want to do that, and they want to pursue it uh, as a career, um, which is a really hard thing to do. But if that's what you want to do, then and I don't have any advice. I mean, the only advice is to just do whatever you want to do,
No
and
secret that it's very risky to choose drum live because there are a lot of drummers all over the world and they're not
I
all
think
of them are famous. Yeah,
you just have to be creative. How do you? I think you have to do a lot of different
and
types of things to make a career.
what to do besides drumming? What do you have to do?
I think you got to be a nice person. You got to be able to get along with people. You got to try to be humble as much as you can in situations where you might feel like you don't get to play how you want to play. You got to be you got to be humble about everything.
Do you have to write emails to different people all over the world, or maybe shooting videos of your drumming?
I don't
What to
personally
do?
do that because I don't have to
How to
do
become
that.
famous and successful?
I don't know. I mean, for me, I think number one, you have to be good. Well, I always just that's uh, my wife and I are friends with Sebastian Bach from Skid Row, and I've been working with him a little bit, and he always says that you just got to be good. You can hear all these career advice people, but you got to be good. That's at the end of the day, you have to be good. If you're not good, you can fake your way into certain things, but at the end of the day, if you're not good, it's
Oh,
not going to work.
well, the advice is to play drums,
Play drums. Just play drums and
and
get as
that's
good as
it.
you can.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you're not the only one who answers this way. And what can you tell about your touring? And, they said that musicians, and I'm a musician too, we like touring, we like performing at the stage. Yeah, but touring is very hard to do, and not all the people know about it. That touring is
Yeah.
not only playing your drums, performing, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of flights and a lot of different movements, yeah, and waiting for something, and
Yeah.
that. What about you? How do you cope with all of this?
It's not really tough. I mean, number one, haven't been touring as much in the last couple of years, just doing one-offs. But the Vibe Band, we all, uh, we all get together. I can take her. Sorry, I'm talking to my wife about getting my daughter to school, so I'm going to telling her I'm going to take her. I can take her. I'll call and just say it's okay. It's okay. Sorry, this is part of my gig, man. Family man in the morning.
That's
Uh,
great. The family is maybe is more important than drumming.
yeah,
But
it
with
totally
but
is.
without drumming, maybe you hadn't have had the family because
Yeah,
it makes
that's
you a
true.
living.
Yeah. So, okay, do you want me to take you to school? Okay, I'll take her. I'll take her. I got her.
School
Yeah.
is awful.
What's it? Yeah. um, no, I have to say, touring with Steve's band, we're all like really a tight unit. We've known each other for so long, and we're like a family. So we all get along. So touring is fun, but there's like missed flights, delayed flights. There's a lot of there's uh, a lot of unexpected things that happen. But in general, being on a bus and traveling, it's a lot. Of course, it's a lot of fun. We have
Can
fun.
you
But
tell some
and
words
with
about
family,
some
or
unexpected things that you've encountered on
yeah.
tours? Something interesting, bizarre,
Oh, I mean, just a lot of things that
a
things
lot
that
of
take.
lost things. I know it, lost
Yeah.
flights.
Yeah, I mean, it just again, like I said, I can't think of anything specific, but just expecting the unexpected and just being ready to know that nothing's ever going to work out according to the schedule. Things are always going to change, and if you can't you try not to get stressed out about that.
Do you still have fun while you touring, or maybe you're just like a professionals, very serious, working?
Oh, I have fun, man. I have fun. I wouldn't do it if it was serious or if I was dealing with people I didn't like. I wouldn't. I don't. I'm in a position now where I don't have to go and tour to make a living. So because I'm fortunate in the way my family is and everything, like I don't have to do this, and I think in some ways that makes it a lot more enjoyable. And so I can choose with the kind of people that I want to surround myself with, and I'm not going to surround myself with people that are unhappy or that don't want to be doing it or are going to be mad or arguing and stuff like that. Life's too short for that.
How can you describe the word success in your way? What is it for you, success? Are you successful?
Yeah, I'm as successful as I want to be. I think that I think success is just being happy with having some goals, future goals, but not letting that run your life. Just realizing the things that you have today are the best things ever. There's like I get to wake up and I live in this beautiful house and I have my daughter and I get to go teach some kids today and I have some music gigs coming up and that's to me success. And I think everybody's definition is probably going to be a little bit different.
And what about visualization? They say that if you visualize something, it will happen in the future.
Uh,
Do
I
you
think
use
that's
this
a
concept?
Yeah, I get tired of hearing that. I think everybody has this visualizing thing, and I think that it's like, you know what? Who I'm tired of it because it's overdone now. Everybody's trying to make a buck with the visualize your dreams and your goals, and after a while everybody's saying that, but
You don't
um,
believe in this, yeah?
I'm not saying I don't believe in it, but I'm just it's what everybody says right now,
But
and
have you done it in your life?
no, not
No?
really. I just kind of always did what I wanted to do, and I've always just tried to be a hard worker with music and to practice. The visualizing thing, I think, or and people say, well, let it come to you and let, I you know, I don't know if it works for some people, fine, but I just think that um, it's hard work. You got to work hard.
And do you have some plans? Do you write down plans?
No, not
Only
really.
rely on your intuition?
I have little things. Bye, babe. I love you. Sorry, my wife's off. My wife is
Say
a
hello
big.
to your wife.
Okay. He says hello, Carmen. My wife is an attorney, so she goes out and she really is like, that's work, man.
Well,
Being a drummer,
if
that's
something happens to you,
well,
she will help you.
she knows what it's like to have a real job. Like anytime I used to complain, like, oh, I got to go on tour and work. That's not working. That's kind of like more like fun.
That's great. Well, so you rely on your intuition when you do your living, yeah? You're not write down your plans. Plan
No,
what will you do in 1 year, in 2 years, and so on. Just you live your life, and that's it, yeah?
yeah, that's it. That's the way that I do things.
How do you
At least
think?
now.
Does it
you can't
fit?
you can't predict you can't predict that like I didn't know 6 years ago I didn't know that I'd be married with a kid 6 years later, and now it's the greatest thing ever. Look, I got a daughter and I got a cat.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
great.
it's great.
But
Yeah,
look, the window is open.
the window's open. Yeah. Well, it's not. It's open, but there's still glass there, so they can't get out.
It's not risky for the cats.
No, no, no.
And how's the
But
weather in Cal?
it's right. It's great right now. Today it's going to get in the 80s, so I'm going to drop her off at school in a second, and then I got to go teach these kids, and then after school we're going to go swimming. Right, Jet?
So I think that it's not our last time.
Yeah.
Yeah? It was a great talk, by the
Dude, it was
way.
so good. I'm sorry I couldn't go longer, but
Yeah.
Miss Trace's going to pick you up. Okay.
I understand.
This was great,
See
man.
you later. See you later.
Yeah, let's keep in touch. Thank you so much, buddy. It's good to talk to you.
Say hello to all of our subscribers.
What's up, guys? Drum Talk Russia. Yeah. Say
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, fine.
Bye.
See you, buddy.